Hi, this is Shakira.
And this is Lia,
We're cooking up a great conversation.
starting with a cup of insights,
Add a tablespoon of fun.
a slice of drama,
Drama. A pinch of salt.
para may konting alat, and lots of pepe.
Siyempre, may anghang.
Welcome to Salt and Pepe Podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Salt and Pepe Podcast. I am Shakira Season.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Salt and Pepe Podcast. I'm Lia, and wow, Kia, this is our last episode.
For the
Gosh.
season,
For the
right?
season,
For the
yes.
season.
Of
Actually,
course.
meron ding mga listener na nagugulat na season ender na kaagad because time just went by so quickly. I guess that means we're having fun, but it is true that this is our 12th episode.
Wow,
And we've been doing this for 6 months. So
already?
yeah,
Wow.
we've been having such a great time. Can't believe it. And as you know, kung sumusubaybay talaga kayo, alam nyo na ang hahaba ng mga episode namin, almost 2 hours because para kaming hindi mapigilan. And actually, no one is stopping us because it is our podcast. Maybe we might shorten it next season, but I think like we're really having so much fun. But
Yes.
yeah, but one thing that I thought about actually every time I listen to our very long episodes is the fact na I think people who know me, they don't really hear much of me, especially in groups. Parang ako yung quiet and shy. And it's very interesting that now I have this platform where you can listen to me 2 hours at a time. So it's very interesting, even for me. And I think it's a great exercise also. And I think this has been really good for both of us and also especially me.
True, me too, because you're able to express our thoughts, right? And again, I really like what you say that we are being the people that we want to have growing up. I think that's a big thing. Um, and there are so many thoughts that you'd like to share, and there's a nice platform for this. And to our listeners, wow, for those reacting na 12 episode na pala, it's so nice that you're still there, right? And it's so cool, right? That as what Kia said from the beginning, kahit isa lang ang matouch namin, and to be able to reach out to
Mhm.
a lot. I think it's more than one. Thank you. It's like yun nga, minsan you want to have that conversation with everyone. But this podcast is nice because we can really share our thoughts at this tita age pa. 'Di ba? Like, we exist as tita age and we can share our experience to everyone. So thank you.
Yes. So thanks for being there throughout and hope you'll join us again for our second season.
Excited for that too.
What have been your favorite moments of our first season?
I really like our first episode, but of course, medyo tuliro ako nun. So like,
Mhm.
my mind was just scattered everywhere. But that's a really nice topic regarding love.
Mhm.
It's also syempre February yun, right? But that was a nice starter to start the season
Mhm.
and to introduce ourselves. But of course, I like the energy of New York because I think that's really us. So it shows our friendship, kaya I like that episode. And then
Mhm.
we had that short skit pa. Skit talaga eh. That short walk. And we're able to introduce ourselves, and we can maybe do something like that in the future, right? Maybe going somewhere and just talking about anything. And of course, the last episode about new words or terminologies that we need to know. As in, I think pareho tayo, yung ang heart natin right now is really with the transgender friends or colleague or community members, right? Parang and those yun nga are bisexual friends, and um yung hindi nakikita, And that really, we know kasi where it comes from how we struggled, and we
Mm-hmm.
can see that now. So sa akin, being able to share our thoughts and just, you know, giving them that support that they need, at least through definitions, and showing them that they are important and we see
Mm-hmm.
them. I think that's a nice episode
Mm-hmm.
for Pride pa. So
Yeah.
ikaw, what were your favorite moments?
Before I answer that, I don't want to forget to thank our banner sponsor,
Thank
Raleigh. Thanks
you.
so much.
Thanks, Rolly.
She sent us a package all the way from Cainta containing
Wow.
all these salt and pepe goodies. So I have banners behind me. She also made us a really cute mouse pad of our faces, which is
Okay.
super cute. Our day in New York, where we just
Our
happen to
orange day.
all wear orange. Medyo
I know,
magkamukha
right?
pa nga kami dito eh. Siguro parang medyo couple. Mukhang couple ng
Thank
halos.
you,
But thank
Rolly.
you so
Meron
much,
ng
Rolly.
merch.
That's really cool. Meron na kaming sponsor.
Thank
Right?
you.
But yeah, going back to reflections on the first season. I think actually in preparing for our season finale, actually pinanood ko yung mga trailers saka mga key episodes, and it's very interesting to note how we both changed throughout the season. I think, syempre nung beginning, madaming mga growing pains and also getting started with the routine. As you know, our very first episode, parang we just set the date, parang bahala na, let's just do this. So we might not have had the right equipment para it's to have like a really clear audio and stuff, but I think we just wanted to get started, and then slowly we were more at ease and more comfortable as the season progressed. We developed a routine, we had our schedule, and most importantly, I wanted to note that I noticed in you through the season a different vibe from the beginning versus the end. Kasi we all know we started this podcast kasi may pinagdadaanan ka.
Yes.
But I just feel like the later Lia in the last few episodes, I think is different from the person you were in the beginning. Kasi I think I mentioned this also to you na nung umpisa it's a little bit inward, also because of the topic that we were discussing, and then towards the end medyo outward na, and you have kind of like, I know that, of course, it's still a journey, but I think that you are progressing really
Ah,
well, and I value you so much as a co-host, and so thank you so much for doing this with
ah.
me.
Thank you. Thank you for that observation. Laking tulong talaga. And also, just to add, the episode of grief was also super nice.
Mhm,
Our topics actually are nice because it's out of the box, and
mhm.
it really makes you reflect on other things. And thank you for that observation. Um, yes, I think it's progress. When you said 6 months, I'm like, that's why time really will help you, no? If you're
Mhm.
going through things and you just need to just move forward. And
Move
I'm glad
forward
you
and
can
keep
see that
busy,
outward. Yep.
and definitely this podcast has kept us both busy.
Yes. In a good way,
Aside
super.
from preparing for it, we're in constant communication. So I feel like this podcast is work, but I feel like it's also a big gift to both of us. It's been good for me. I think it's been good for you, and I am glad that we have some listeners out there. We're not looking to conquer the world, pero kung may matulungan tayong paisa-isa, or we entertain some people during their commute, while stuck in traffic or doing their chores,
Yes.
I hope they learn a few things. So, moving
Thank you.
on
Yes.
to our 12th episode, which is our last episode of the first season. Because we're taking a break in our
Mm-hmm.
podcast production, It's not too long. So we're hoping for just 2 months summer break.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wait too long. We wanted to discuss why and how breaks happen in relationships, or any kind of break that we take, from sometimes from school or from work, from friendships, from family, you know. This is the topic, our topic for today, and the title of our episode is Cool Off Muna.
Oh gosh, tagal ko na hindi naririnig yung
Yung
word na
cool off.
cool off. My
Meron na bang,
gosh.
is there a new like Gen Z term for
Oh
cool off
yeah.
or taking a break or whatever? Sinasabi pa ba yung cool off or hindi na?
I don't honest, I haven't heard that in a long time, but on
Right?
our generation, we definitely know what cool off. But I think at this age, I understand it more
Right?
because thinking of cool off before it was so different. But yes, in all our commitments, whether it be relationships, career, projects, hobby, we've all taken breaks. We want to talk about our experience in taking breaks. So yes, so um thinking of cool off, for me, honest, before when you say cool off, wala break na yan. Cool
Ay,
off break na
totoo.
tayo.
Oh,
'Di ba?
ganon. Actually, um, I don't know. Maybe we can talk about this more later, but there was only one time that I asked for a cool off. And the person I said it to said, kung magko-cool off, wag na. Let's just split up.
Wow. And
And,
then
uh,
you like
and then
like
I said, okay, that's not what I asked, but fine. Tapos parang nagulat yata siya dun sa sagot ko. Because I think akala niya sasabihin ko, wait.
yeah.
So but now you have a new appreciation for cool off or taking a break. You understand it more, or we can get into that later.
Yeah, we can get into that later. But
Okay.
yes, I think I have more understanding. But for me, I don't think I would still do it. But if my
Mhm.
partner asks and we have that, you know, proper, usap or this communication and know exactly, we're just confident with each other, I would understand. I wouldn't
Mhm.
take it as
Yeah.
negative, diba? It's different.
Well, I think first of all, we want to discuss
Mm-hmm.
why people take breaks in the first place, right? So some of the reasons that people give in asking for time off from a relationship or anything for that matter is burnout, maybe just like really tired of whatever it is that's going on, because all relationships have their challenges, and
Oh,
sometimes you just run out of energy, or even like work, right? Sometimes talagang you just burn out, there's no solution for it, you just want to take a break, or you have some unresolved conflicts that just don't
oh,
seem to be resolved no matter
oh,
what, right?
that's exact.
um some reasons that people give when they ask for time off from relationship is personal growth. I don't know kung BS ba, or like they ask like, I want time to myself,
True.
I want time to think, I want to reevaluate my priorities, I want, or they feel like they want to resolve conflicts on their own. I don't know
True.
how feasible that is, but basically I think there are times talaga na feeling stuck ka lang.
Yes.
And especially during a difficult, like, period of time in a relationship na parang paulit-ulit na lang yung away, walang solution, and it's just exhausting. And you feel so stuck in a cycle. And the only way you can think of to resolve it is to remove yourself from the situation, even for a period of time. You know, in your case, I know that nung araw, hindi ka naniniwala sa cool off, but I guess hypothetically, or maybe now, what do you think? How do you know it's if it's time to step back?
I think the one that really I was gonna say is yung cycle, because meron talaga eh. I'm talking about past relationships kasi there's
Mhm.
really that cycle na it just happens, same conflict, same argument, minsan nga same sentence na naman sinasabi niyo, parang hindi nare-resolve
Mhm.
talaga.
Mhm.
It's either you really don't wanna tell the truth, what you
Mhm.
actually feel,
Mhm.
or no, I think that's it. You just don't wanna tell, or you don't wanna hurt. Basta you're holding yourself back of really the real emotions you're feeling. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why it's, I guess, unresolved at paulit-ulit. And
Mm-hmm.
that's super tiring in relationships. And of course, in maybe work or other things, I think it's you it's already how you maybe you view things on how you think. Hindi, I always give 110%, dapat ganon eh. But it's how you were built up. Like, I think we're the same eh. Parang we grew up na talagang worker tayo, we have to work hard because
Mm-hmm.
kailangan
Mm-hmm.
talaga yun because nakakatakot mawala ng pera if there's an emergency. Those
Mm-hmm.
things, those scary things in our head that makes us want to work and work. Pero then you realize when you get older, it's okay. 'Di ba? And we're afraid to lose our work because of, I guess, our culture in the Philippines. Feeling natin, if a fire tayo agad. I think that's what I learned
Mm-hmm.
here in North America. It's like, if you're doing a good job, you're doing a good job. And they'll understand. I think it's my company. I think they're really good. If you need to take a little break and you can say, I need time off.
Mm-hmm.
I think also when it comes to age, and I think parang nag-change na rin talaga ang work culture, and people already understand burnout, di
Mm-hmm.
ba? I think kasi also back in the Philippines, ang daming power trip.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
that they can really manipulate you just not doing something or completing a task na pwede mo nang gawing next day. Tayo, we do it until matapos eh. 'Di ba? Na we can naman do it the next day, but we're just afraid to lose our jobs, I
Mm-hmm.
think. But when it comes to relationship, I think I'd like to focus on that with relationships. It's really, there's a point talaga na paulit-ulit na lang,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know how to resolve it, and exactly you
Mm-hmm.
just want to step back. So I think that's the cool off part. And for me, honest, I would not. It's not in my nature to cool off.
Mm-hmm.
Um Maybe do something else instead of cooling off is really, I would do
Mm-hmm.
step, just have a me time. But maybe bang I won't say it if it was me before. Right now, sobrang iba na talaga yung mindset nga, ninja skills, right? We've developed that at this tita age eh. Right now, I know I'll be able to understand where my frustrations come in. I'll be able to understand where my partner's
Mm-hmm.
frustrations come in, and we can discuss. I think that's where I am at that point na eh.
Mm-hmm.
But if my partner says, you know what, I really need a cool off, naiintindihan ko na siya ngayon. Hindi ko siya take negatively, hindi ko naisip na, shucks, iiwan na talaga ako, iiwan ako nito. Kasi before, I think pag cool off, the moment na mag-separate, feeling mo, hindi na ako mahal. Alam mo yun, the moment,
Mm-hmm.
hindi niya na ako makita, she'll forget me and she doesn't love me anymore. Something like that, at
Mm-hmm.
iiwan niya ako. That's my definition. So right now, personally, I won't still do a cool off. I don't think it's necessary. There's a way of talking about things. But if my partner wants that, and we have strong feelings for each other, we trust each other, I
Mm-hmm.
know I will understand. So that's right now, the reason to step back is kasi may cycle talaga eh. Nakakapagod.
It's
Yes.
true. Sometimes you just get stuck.
Yes.
Especially if like you live with the person, you've built a life together, you've been together for so long.
Yes.
Minsan talaga, the issues sometimes they're just all the same, tapos parang it just feels like it's endless. And it really depends naman kung anong definition yun ng cool off. Maybe it's just, okay, let's just drop this issue for a year.
Tapos babalik ulit. For a
Yung mga
year.
parang ganun. Or, yeah, people, or take a break from this issue, or take a break from whatever it is, But some people do think that there is value in taking a break, and some reasons people have given to pursue taking a break is that, each like one or both people want to address some individual need that they don't know, maybe they feel like the cause of their problem is something that they need to fix on their own,
True.
and there are many things
Yes.
that, kunyari, family issues. Sometimes you
Yes.
can't help it. The spouse cannot help the family issue. And if it's always getting in
Exactly.
the way, maybe there's a point where ayusin mo muna yan because our marriage is suffering or something. Or substance abuse, right?
Oh,
Right? Mga ganon, right?
sad.
'Di ba? I think those are valid reasons, right?
Very valid.
You know, I guess taking a break, it's also a good time to reassess the relationship without the immediate pressure. Para it's a good time to say, I still love you. I still want this relationship. I just can't see my way out of it, but I will come back, and I just need to think these things through or whatever. And it's just so hard right now. If we keep forcing it, sometimes people with children, especially, kung talagang sobrang ano na, so heated at home, it's not good for the kids na parating nag-aaway, for example, or it's bad for your health. Kung
Sobra.
talagang masyado ng it's just a little it's just getting so heated so often, and it's just tough. And again, like, sometimes you're just in the thick of things, and we've been there, where it just seems like there's no end, and the alternative is, if the alternative is, let's split up forever, versus let's take a break and think this through, kung ano ba talagang gusto natin. I think if I really value that relationship, kung uh I would try to
Yes.
see, right, rather than just drop it, you know.
Yes.
Well, I'm a firm believer kasi in therapy, in counseling, and couples counseling, but some couples refuse to do that, right? So it's so hard to get through things, lalo na kung stuck ka dun sa cycle without outside help. But some people just refuse, or they don't think it will help, or they don't believe in sharing your problems with someone else. And so it's very hard to do it on your own kasi hindi naman kayo professionals, and you just everybody in a relationship is just reacting to the other person, and the other person's reaction to your reaction, and it's just this
Oh
whole
gosh.
cycle. And sometimes
Endless.
you just need a third person to be like, hold on 1 second, that's not what she said, that's what you're thinking, right? Yung parang meron lang konting mediator, but I feel like it's so easy to feel stuck if you refuse to seek help, I think. And I feel like also a lot of relationships could be saved if you just try to get counseling first. And some people just refuse, and you pay the price for it because of your refusal. And it's an interesting, actually, when people like push against things so much, you kind of wonder, what are you afraid of? Right?
Exactly.
What can this person that you're paying and can fire anytime possibly do to you? And what are you afraid of finding out? Right? So parang ganon. So not of course, getting help is also very expensive, so not everybody can avail of it. But that's different. Not being able to afford it is different from refusing to get help,
Yep.
because there are many
Mhm.
different ways that you can get help. So I learned today, doing some reading on this topic, that while taking a break is definitely a disruption in the relationship and the normal flow of the relationship, it can be a positive or a negative thing, right? Kung if it's like
Yes.
you smooth and happy, tapos biglang, okay, cool off, it might be a negative disruption. Parang, oh, wait, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Pero kung medyo nagkakagulo na, and it's just a cycle over and over, that disruption actually might be a welcome disruption. Kasi parang, hold on 1 second, I don't want to keep doing this anymore with you. I don't want to end this relationship, but can we stop going on this cycle and this roller coaster, and maybe step back and see what we can do, so that we're not constantly para just going on and doing the same thing. um I also learned that when you do it right, it can actually have really good potential.
It does.
And I mean, like I mentioned earlier, if the alternative is ending the relationship or thinking about it separately, I might go for the thinking about it separately. Even if the end is the same, I feel like if there's a
Yes.
chance to think
To give it
about
a
it,
chance. Yes.
to think about it before just dropping everything, then
Do yes, right? Do that thing first.
whatever you need to do.
Sure. Yes.
Especially I feel like at a certain age, and and in the kinds of relationships that we both had, na they're long-term relationships and deeply committed relationships, I feel like you owe it to each other to just try your best, even if it's a method that the other person might not be completely comfortable with. But if the alternative is just, to end it completely, I think I would go for just trying and
I
seeing,
would.
right? So
Yeah.
I think it can have great potential, and what it is, if you do it right, it's very, and actually a very excellent tool in breaking patterns in a relationship.
Yeah.
Kasi sometimes you don't even recognize the pattern, di ba? Yung parang you're just paulit-ulit, pero hindi mo naiintindihan kung bakit, because you can't step outside of it. And you don't know what your contribution to it is. You don't know where the other person is coming from. Ang nakikita nyo lang yung symptoms at saka yung pagka-triggered ng bawat isa, right?
Yes.
And sometimes being away from each other really makes you think, parang wait, mag-isa na lang ako, wala akong kaaway, pero bakit parang I'm still doing it to myself?
True.
Stuff like that. Or actually makes you think about, do I really still want this other person in my life?
Exactly.
You know, for me personally, I mentioned earlier na that was the only time that I asked for a cool off. In retrospect, I was super young. I really should not have asked for a cool off. I really should have ended the relationship, and I wanted to.
Ayun. At
I
least
really,
nasabi mo
ito
na
to.
ngayon.
Sabi
Na-release
ko
mo
kasi,
na ngayon.
kung nasan ka man, diyan ka na lang. But, I want to tell you na actually, I actually wanted to end it, but a friend told me, don't end it because you might regret it. So why don't you just take a break? And then ako naman si Uto-Uto na parang, oh nga, no, maybe, whatever. So I asked for a stupid cool off. That's my mistake. And I'm sorry. Sorry. But
Ikaw tuloy sinabihan. Ayoko na.
ayoko na.
Unahan na
Well, and,
tuloy.
and, that, and that was fine because that's what I wanted to do. But it was not a good thing to not trust my own instinct. But in terms of like taking a break, there was a time actually in my marriage now that I actually felt so stuck, and I felt like there was no way out of the issues that we had, that I actually decided that I didn't want to be part of it anymore.
Okay.
I
Wow.
actually made the move to move out, to get my own apartment and whatever. And then I think at that moment of that possibility that we would have our separate lives, I think that was the only time that we actually thought about what our lives would be like without each other. Yung
Yeah.
parang that realization of like, actually, kaya mo naman eh, tsaka kaya ko rin naman eh. We will be fine, but do we want to go through life without each other? And then I think with that realization na parang actually, I'm not sure. But then you don't get to that point until you actually take that step na parang entertaining the possibility of not having that person. And also the other person in the relationship doesn't realize that, you know what? We're not forcing each other to be in a relationship. This is an everyday choice. And I have to be a good partner every day, and you have to be a good partner every day. It's not like we're stuck here. We have choices. And I think once you realize that, then you actually try to be the best partner every day, because you know that the other person has options, and knowing for a fact that the other person actually can walk away from you makes it a conscious choice. Hindi yung parang feeling mo hindi naman niya kaya na wala ako eh. Then that's not really a true commitment if it's
Yes.
based on fear, or
Mm.
it's based
Yes.
on, oh, what's holding this other person? Financial ba?
Yes.
Or ano ka ba? Emotional crutch ka ba? That doesn't mean love. That doesn't mean commitment. But you don't test that until you actually prove to each other na kaya nyo without each other, and being together is a daily choice, right?
Yes.
So I would I don't know if that's considered a break, but I think that's one of the reasons you go on a break, or at least some kind of like break in the cycle, where you're both reminded and you have to ask each other and ask yourself, do I still want to continue doing this, or ayaw ko na? And it's impossible to do that just stuck in that thing over and over. You really need to step back. But I know you're Miss Con. You're against cool off, or you don't really believe in it, or at least you don't think you're going to ask for a break. So what do you think are the cons in taking
Cons.
breaks?
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that, no? I'm sure some people think na sobrang tagal nyo na, sobrang okay, but I guess sharing that bit of information made people, our listeners, maybe think about it. Wow, napagdaanan pala ni Kia yan or ni Shakira yan, diba? When we're talking about it, I just remembered I didn't ask for a cool off um in a past relationship. It was just so funny. I think because nga at that time I was just the pleaser. Yung
Mhm.
talagang feeling ko talaga knight in shining armor,
Mhm.
chivalry at its finest. Ganun talaga ako dati. So, what I actually asked was, can you just give me 2 weeks? Ito nakakatawa. Can you just give me 2 weeks of not just putting my best foot forward and
Mhm.
just like maybe not making you up there in the pedestal. I
Mhm.
just wanna step back first, but it doesn't mean anything. Kasi nga, alaga galore ako eh, parang ganon.
Mhm.
Yun sinabi ko. And you guess what? Nakipag-break siya
Nakipag-
sa akin.
you know, that was actually a good move,
Yes.
because you wanted to see if this relationship will survive if I don't put that much of an effort. Because, a relationship and a commitment doesn't survive because one person put you on a pedestal, or one person is doing the work, right? But
Yes.
then, nung yun yung response niya, ibig sabihin nun, gusto ka lang niya kung
Yes, siya
siya
ang
yung
prinsesa
bida.
at reyna.
Right? Na wala
Yes.
siyang effort, right? So that's very interesting actually, right?
Tawang-tawa ako dun. Sabi ko, wow. And I really had to have that courage to ask. Kasi nga,
Two
yun nga, I
weeks.
wanted to break that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
'Di ba? I wanted to see na medyo napagod ka rin, 'di ba? You can't naman just be 100% all the time, 'di ba? And then
Mm-hmm.
you also want that person to at least show their part naman in the relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
think kasi yun nga dati, parang ganun how I thought, 'di ba? Nga butch nga ako, gusto ko talaga magustuhan ako ng girls, 'di ba? So, and that was who I was when I first met her. So, I was afraid na if I stop that, baka hindi niya na ako gusto. That's why I had to build that courage to say it. So when I said it, hindi pala niya gusto. Sabi niya, "Ano na naman 'yan? Wala na kung ang ganyan ka na lang, break na lang tayo." Sabi ko, "Oh, 'di okey." Eh, wala na, eh,
Wait,
ask na, yun pala na
pumayag
gusto
ka?
oo, pumayag ako.
Or sinabi mo, hindi, hindi,
Kilala
hindi,
mo
I take it
naman
back.
siya. No, hindi ko na ginawa yun. Kasi napagod wrong timing yung sabihin din niya kasi nung time na yun parang pagod na rin ako, eh,
Oh,
'di
parang,
ba?
okay,
So
fine.
parang, okey, fine.
Ito
Kasi
na
wala
nga lang
na ako.
hinihingi ko eh.
Oo, pero kilala mo naman yun, binalikan ko rin after a few months, naging kami ulit. You know that, on and off ko siya talaga for the longest time, but we were young. Those are the things I've learned talaga, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Yun yung naging skills mo na ngayon, yun, eh. Anyway, so back to your question, the cons.
Uh-huh.
It's just, as you said, 'di ba, taking that break is a point na maybe you want to still save the relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because nga at that point nga yung cycle na yun, you're tired, 'di
Mm-hmm.
ba? And you don't understand what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of breaking up, you're still saving it eh.
Mm-hmm.
So which is okay, 'di ba? But if the other person sees it differently, yun yung mahirap na part. And then ikaw din, like you said, 'di ba? you just wanted to have that cool off kasi sinabi ng friend mo, pero in your head, ayaw mo
Ayaw mo
na.
na.
Baka naman talaga others who are just burned out is really fed up with the relationship. So, pero sometimes you will have to assess. That's why you wanna step back because
Mhm.
you don't know what's controlling you at that moment, 'di ba? Wow, in
Mhm.
and out to ano talaga 'no, yung Disney in and out. What emotions is controlling you at that time?
Mhm.
So, cons is baka nga ma-enjoy mo masyado and you think, "Ay, parang ito talaga yung gusto." You know, you really don't know. That's why it's
Mhm.
so best to
Mhm.
have a professional help, 'di ba? Kung if ever you're going to take that break, maybe you wanna seek professional help as
Mhm.
well. Because if you do it on your own, syempre you're just going to entertain your own thoughts
Mhm.
na bias
It's
sa'yo,
true.
'di
It's
ba?
true.
So,
Yeah,
that's
that's a
the
good
cons,
point.
eh. So, if you step back, you entertain the thoughts that you want to entertain, not the other thoughts that you didn't think about.
Well, you know what? That's a good point. I'm thinking about it now. Kung kunyari galing ka nga dun sa relationship na ang gulo-gulo, parating
Toxic,
nag-aaway,
oo.
right? And then you agree, let's take a break. And then the break is like, okay, hindi kayo nag-uusap or whatever. Sometimes you're just like, oh my God, ang sarap pala.
Yes, na hindi kami
Pag
nagkaroon
walang
ng away
walang
today.
away, walang makulit, walang nagnanag or walang ganyan-ganyan. And you're just like, ayoko na nga. Oh,
Yes.
it's always part of it. That's always a risk, right? Or it could be the
Exactly.
other way around. Na parang, you know what, it's worth it. Or
Yes.
whatever it is.
Pero your question naman is the cons, 'di
The
ba?
cons.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yun lang for me is the cons is that you might entertain only your biases or the things that you'd like to entertain. That's why it's
Mm-hmm.
best if you do that break, make sure you seek professional help sana, 'di
Mm-hmm.
ba? So at least or read up or do anything and have sana walang bias sa
Mm-hmm.
lang, 'di ba? And you actually take the time to realize bakit mo ginawa yun in the first place, 'di ba? It's not just because pagod ka na, it's just you really want I think taking a cool off is you really wanna save something, eh. Kasi you can just say goodbye if you wanted to, eh, but
Yeah.
having that point of cool off, that means you want to save something, 'di
Mm-hmm.
ba? And keep that in mind. For me, yun ang aking cons kasi 'di ba, out of sight, out of wala na, 'di ba? So, sana when you're cooling off, yun lang, hindi siya you're seeking help. Yun, that's my cons. You might not
Parang
go
you're
back
doing it
and
for
you
the
didn't
right
yes, you
the
don't
right
really
reason.
grow.
You're not
Yeah, you might not
escaping.
grow. Yes, you might be escaping and you don't actually grow from that. It's a good decision kasi nga you have to step back or else baka one day sumabog ka lang in this, yun na yun.
Or baka
So,
kasi yung iba, they use cool off as a way kasi they don't have the courage to break up. 'Di ba? Parang,
true.
"Uy, cool off muna tayo." Parang, "Oh, hindi na. Kung cool off lang, 'wag na. Break na tayo." Like, okay.
Ay, ikaw, ano, what would you like to discuss? The pros or the cons?
I discussed the
The pros na.
pros earlier and the cons, like, like what you mentioned, that people aren't always straightforward, or maybe they don't know the actual reason they want to do it. So there's a lot of that, because if you're on the receiving end of that request, it's always a risk and it's always scary, diba? Kasi parang di mo alam and the ball is in the other person's court. But I feel like everything can be discussed, if you ever, get to that point that someone asks for a break. And you know what? A break can be a day, it can be a week. It depends, and it's
Half
something
a
that's
data. Yes.
something that you can communicate and be clear about, so that it doesn't feel so scary. And if you're presented with that proposal of like, oh, let's take a break, you can actually discuss it to the point where you're comfortable and you're not scared. Or maybe while discussing it, you really feel scared and you really feel like this person isn't really taking a break, this person is stepping out or stepping away. Then
Ouch.
but without the conversation, you don't really know. And so one of the things that I read about when discussing taking a break with each other is to be clear on the purpose. At least be clear with yourself. you can have a purpose that's different from what you present to the other person.
Oh,
Because
yes.
sometimes baka madugo yung purpose mo. It's not really for public consumption. It's not really for the other person. It's gonna be hurtful for the
Yes.
other person. I'm not necessarily talking about there's a third party, but then you just don't want to get into the actual purpose. You can actually present, kind of this a basic overview to the other person. But the real purpose for you needs to be clear kung bakit mo ba talaga ginagawa yun. As with anything that we're doing, right?
Yes.
Especially something with finality or close to finality, or something that can actually permanently impact your relationship. I think you need to really think about it instead of parang bara-bara. I think we're too old for bara-bara.
Oh,
I think we
yes. My
aged
goodness.
out. We aged out of being impulsive, So I think establishing the guidelines for communication during the break, even for breakups, but especially when you're taking a break, like, is it okay for the two of you to keep discussing the problems of your relationship, or is it like, okay, we're not going to talk about the relationship right now? Are we going to talk about household matters, or is it zero communication? If you have children, how do you move around, like, children and family and all that stuff? It sucks kasi we're adults, so we have a lot of things to think about. No araw kasi parang, okay, cool off tayo. Okay, bye. I'm just not gonna pick up my phone. The end. Right.
Bagsak. Ito pa yung pagbabagsak ng phone pa
Diba?
talaga eh.
Parang, gumaganon pa kaya yung mga tao, or ganun na lang, right?
Ganun.
Oo. Like, ganun na. Hindi na yung
Ganun.
nagbagsak. And do you
Hindi na.
actually, I guess you still say hang up, but you don't like slam the phone anymore. Baka masira yung screen.
True.
Agreeing on the duration of the break and your expectations for reunion. Ano ba siya? Oh, I want a break, but it's up to me to decide kung kailan ako babalik.
Oh
Is
my
it
gosh.
1 month? Is it 2 months? Is it 3 months? Is either partner trying to achieve a state, an inner state or a feeling before they can go back? Or is it a condition, like, for example, substance abuse or family problems? Like, I need to take a break from this relationship. I need to step out first, and you need to resolve either your substance abuse issues or your family problems. And when I feel that you've resolved it, then I'll come back. Is that an ultimatum, or is it your feeling of like, okay, I'm satisfied now with whatever I wanted to do or to think about, and now it's time for me to come back?
Wow.
Also, what is the parting and the re-entry plan? Right? Ang dami na kasi natin kailangan isipin ngayon, di na katulad noong araw eh. Ngayon kasi parang, even just a simple like planning a trip, di ba? Kahit na overnight trip, di ba? May listahan na. Ganyan-ganyan, patayin to. Yung siguraduhin na hindi nakabukas yung mga faucet, gaya yung mga pets, ganito, blah, blah, blah. Ang dami-daming kailangan isipin just for overnight or a
Sobra.
1 week trip. What more if you're actually taking a break from the relationship? So there's a lot of things to think about and a lot of things to discuss.
Mhm.
And also the re-entry of coming back. And
True.
it's already complicated kung dalawang tao lang yung pinag-uusapan. Kung meron pang family, kung may anak, may parents pa, may kamag-anak pa, madami pang nakatira sa bahay, right?
Ay,
Diba? Ang dami,
At dami.
right?
Wag na kayo mag-cool off.
Wag na masyado. Kaya nga yung mga tao, they just suffer, di ba? They just
Yes, that's
stay kasi
right.
masyadong komplikado.
Complicated.
And
Yes.
if you think about it too, with all the things that we have to think about, and someone actually saying, I'm having a hard time, I think I need to take a break, versus just dropping everything and running away, there's something to be said about that. Kasi parang in a way, it's a little bit of an effort. It's a little bit of like opening themselves up and actually saying, I'm having a hard time. I need to step out, but I am not leaving.
Exactly.
And diba? And like, I would prefer that, I think, especially if you've been with someone for a long time, as opposed to goodbye, bonot.
yun ang iisipin ko rin for somebody, if you're in a long relationship, I think that's fair enough to think about na hindi ka magiging, you won't take offense right away. 'Di ba? That person, I guess, at that point, I'm talking about a long relationship,
Mhm.
is seeking help na,
Mhm.
right? Exactly. I just want to take a break. I don't want to leave. I really can't take whatever's happening, 'di ba?
Yeah.
So, sana whoever's receiving that, kasi 'di ba, take that as a sign na hindi ka magagalit. You have to really think bakit niya sinabi yun. I'm sure it took a lot of courage, but how, for that person to tell you that.
And I guess if you're on the receiving end of it too, your reaction to that proposal of your partner taking a break, kung biglang ang reaction mo parang, why? Everything's fine. Di parang sobrang ano ka, parang are
Disconnected.
you disconnected ka? Parang maybe you don't feel like your partner's having such a hard time that they need to take a break? Or kung if you're a normal feeling and caring person, you already know when someone asks for a break, you probably already know, like, yeah, I'm having a hard time too. And I know you're having a hard time too. And I don't have the solution for it. So maybe either further discussion or, yeah, maybe we need to just give this a rest in whatever form
Yes,
that
totoo.
we
I
need to
was
do.
thinking of I was thinking of your list, no? Siyempre, yung mga thoughts ko, nagiging naughty na. It would be nice, I was thinking of re-entry, parting and re-entry. Why don't, Nax, nabigay na ng scenario, di ba? So you're having that thoughts. Why don't you have that me time, right? It's nice if
Yeah.
you're think just me time. Kayong dalawa, I mean, of course, I'm thinking you're a couple who have a lot of resources, but both of you have your me time. Tapos magkita kayo somewhere, 'di ba? Tapos role playing, ay ang saya nun.
Parang ginawa mo naman sexy lahat ng bagay.
Pero naman, it's just one
And
ano
nag
lang, one
so, okay.
scenario, 'di ba, na parang
So,
saya
pag
naman, 'di ba?
wag ano na kayo, reunite kayo. You have to
Yes.
pretend to be different people.
Just for that date, parang at least it's like, na parang you really understood each other. I think at that point, if a couple is at that point na who takes me times, I think that's also
Mhm.
a break, 'di ba? They know exactly their value to each other and they know their self-value. Kasi nga, again, when you go into a relationship, two of you have two different personalities.
Mhm.
I mean, it's really
It's just
sometimes you're,
yeah,
yes, two different
you know,
people, 'di ba? And
the
you have to make it work. So, because you love each other, may factor kasi nung love, and you want to be with each other. So I guess those who are able to ask for a me time and for the other person to agree and maybe have that me time too, those are little breaks. Just
mhm.
small, like in
Yeah,
the afternoon, I
yeah.
just want to go to the park and read or something like that.
Mhm.
Or
It's
gusto
hard
ko
to
lang.
ask for, 'di ba? And having this conversation with you right now, I feel like kung may nakikinig na medyo younger or
I was
not
thinking
much
that too.
experience in relationships, sometimes it sounds like, oh, this is so far off, I'm not gonna have this
Yeah.
problem kasi we communicate, we talk, whatever, we can discuss everything. But trust me, the actually, I think the best relationships are the ones with all these conversations and these conflicts and pinag-uusapan talaga, because it's you'd actually, whether even if you fight so hard for it not to happen, you will lose yourself in a relationship in some way, because that's the whole point of loving, hindi ba? And the whole point of commitment is to give yourself to someone, to be the best person, and sometimes that means you sacrifice your own self, you forget your own needs, or you try to be the person that the other person needs, instead of, like, oh, sticking to your, because if you just stuck to your own self and just thought about your own needs, hindi magsusurvive yung relationship,
Talaga.
right?
No.
So there's really, like, it's just a constant negotiation, and really there are really times where you feel like, wait, sino na ba ako?
Mm.
parang nakalimutan ko na yung sarili ko, or parang, do you even know who I am? Like, parang alam mo naman na gusto ko yung ganito, bakit hindi mo naisip na ganito yung kailangan ko? And
Yeah.
then you want to be a mind reader, and then, or, one of the things that I think about when you're in a relationship kasi, when you get to know somebody, parang kinabisado mo na yung tao, you start to take liberties based on your understanding of this person. Parang kilala na kita eh. So alam ko that when you're sad, you want cake. For example, you want cake, you want a foot rub. Tapos parang automatic na yun sa isip mo. So parang ginagawa mo yun year in, year out. And then one day, biglang sabihin na lang sa'yo ng partner mo na parang, you know what, I never like cake. Ay, di ba? Tapos parang, ikaw parang, what do you mean? I know you want cake, like, blah, blah, blah. Tapos parang kasi, ginawa mo na, tapos parang yun pala, you're supposed to check in, parang, is this still okay? Do you still want this or whatever? Because the other person might
True.
just be yesing you. Or maybe that was just a one-time thing na sinabi niya sa'yo na gusto niya, tapos parang kinarir mo naman yung gusto niya.
Forever.
We're always making assumptions
Yes.
because we love that person, and we're always getting in trouble based on those same assumptions because we don't fully learn, like, know the person and can predict the person. And the other person, we're always changing.
Yes. That's
We
gonna
are
say
always
always
changing. The person
changing.
who loved cake on a sad day may not exist next year. And if we're talking about relationships that last 5, 10, 20 years, it's a completely different person now. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot recognize myself in my 20s. I don't recognize the relationship I had with my wife now in when we were first starting, because we're different people and it always changes. And you will always, if you listen, and if you listen, if you're committed and you're really listening and
Listen.
watching your partner and you really care, kasi pwede namang dead ma, bahala ka sa buhay mo, wala akong pake. You're always getting into trouble because you're always basing it on previous experience and the vibe of the person na parang, oh, mainit yata yung ulo niyan, I should stay away. Yung meron ka ng automatic na ganon, yun pala, nag-change na pala siya, gusto na niya, pagka bad mood siya, gusto niya na pala hinahag siya. Parang things
Yeah.
change and things have to be communicated all the time. And if you don't do
Mm.
that, parang, it's very complicated. So if you're younger and this seems so foreign to you, tapos parang hindi, pang ano lang yan, matanda or whatever, I feel like if you do relationships right, it's constant. Like, if you care, it's a
Yes.
constant conversation. And one of my favorite quotes, I think, is your former teacher, Rica Bolepata Santos. I
Uh, yes.
always remember this in what she wrote before, that love is a constant negotiation of space and time. I think
Yeah.
the moment you stop negotiating, the moment you stop asking, is this okay? Should we do this? What if you do that? I want this. I want 30 minutes to myself. Do you want whatever? The moment you stop that, tas iisip mo na lang, bahala na tayo sa isa't, parang bahala ka na, wala akong pake. Then that's when, then you go on your separate ways. Kasi nawala na yung communication and you stop caring about what the
Exactly.
other person thinks and
Exactly.
feels.
'Di ba? Until now talaga communication talaga is key, 'di ba? And then when you were saying what you should think about if you plan nga to take that cool off, yun nga, one of them is the thought of ako, making sure that when you cool off, you're really not wanting to meet other people because that's
Mhm.
weird too, 'di ba? Na yun lang sa akin. If you really trust your partner and you're really good, you would actually think of that. Pero there are people who wants to cool off because they want to meet other people. So that
Mhm.
for me is a no-no. If you want to do that, then you really don't want to be in a relationship. You're still not ready to commit with
Mhm.
somebody, right? So
Right?
if you want to cool off because you think you want to meet other people, you want to know if you may market ka pa ba or something,
That's not a
'di ba?
cool off.
That's not a cool off. You really have something you have to resolve on your own, and you shouldn't make that, give that hard time to the other person, 'di ba? You just have to have that break.
And if
Yun ang
that
sa akin dati,
is,
eh.
if you're in the receiving end of the request of the cool off, and it's important for you to not, for the other person to not start seeing other people, or if you want that freedom also, it's something that needs to be discussed.
Yes. I
Yeah.
was thinking of that too eh. Like, right now, I was like, parang naiintindihan ko na rin yung poly. Alam mo yun, na
Yeah.
parang, wait, and that's a
It's
thing for
fair.
all, for straight,
Yeah.
homosexual, lahat,
Yeah.
anybody in relationships. And that can actually happen. Then you
Yeah.
realize na parang, oh wait, I think I can be in that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
You
So,
know, it's
it's so
fair. And
different
kasi
than now.
parang,
Exactly.
I
It's not
feel like
negative.
we've been indoctrinated with
Yes.
this idea that love is only one flavor,
Yes.
only one is to one at all times or whatever. And it's not always the case for people. Some people may only love one person at a time. Some people won't. And
Okay.
it's, we just have to keep an open mind. But to have this fantasy that there's only one person for you for your entire life, I don't believe that. And I also don't believe that if you're with one person and you love that person like deeply, that you will not meet someone else and find them interesting or connect with someone else. It depends on what you're going to do about it. Or sometimes you really have a deep connection with some person and you have to figure out what their role is in your life, right?
Exactly.
I think these are all valid points.
Valid.
And the more we fight against it and insist na hindi, pag mahal mo, wala ka nang makikitang ibang tao. Parang ano yun, bulag ka ba? Parang there's
Yes.
always going to be attractive people
Oh,
around you,
yes.
and you're always, and you know what, it's healthy actually to actually kind of like get your heart be stirred a little bit, na parang may maramdaman ka na parang, oh wait, I'm feeling something for this person. What's missing in my relationship? Or what do I need? What kind of validation or feeling am I seeking that I need for myself? That's not really, and it's usually not even about the other person. It's just something that you're looking for. I think these are all valid points and something that can be discussed. And if your relationship is healthy enough, you should be able to discuss all these
Possibilities.
concerns and
Yeah,
possibilities. 'Di ba? What if pareho
exactly.
kayong nag-agree na parang actually, yeah, if we want to take a break, then we can see what's out there. And yeah, I might go on a date or whatever. What are the rules? Are we having sex? Are we practicing safe sex? Are we
Safe sex,
whatever? Blah, blah,
always.
blah. You know, have these conversations para walang malabo and walang like resentment later on.
True. Yes, it's just something really that people have to be open to. It's not like I'm saying it because I will do it, diba? It's just really because you might meet somebody who's also like that and you're like that, be perfect, diba?
Right?
You want to meet other people and you're in that kind of flow already. It's up to you. But yun nga eh, I read that also recently. We have to make that a norm too, right?
Mhm.
It's not a taboo, or if you're honest enough to say that, what, suddenly I feel this thing, maybe you read something and then
Mhm.
again you were able
Mhm.
to describe what you're feeling, because
Mhm.
again there's so much terminology already on things that are happening to somebody. And because nga social media, globalization, everything, you can see it on online. So it's a possibility, 'di ba, na yung pala kayo, mali mo, yung pala, you're not talking to each other, you feel the same way, 'di ba? That's why
Mhm.
communication is key. Yun nga lang
Uh-huh.
sa akin. Safe sex all the time, yun lang for me. Syempre, health-wise. But, yun, it has to be communicated if the other person really, rules. Pag nag-cool off tayo, please, I I would agree on this if it's really the reason that you need time for yourself.
Mhm.
'Di ba? If you say you need time for yourself and
Mhm.
you're meeting other people, parang weird din 'yon, 'di ba? So,
Mhm.
again, list everything para klaro and there's
Mhm.
no resentment after. And if you decide to come back and continue and you know exactly the reason, 'di ba? Baka naman nag-cool off ka, bumalik kayo parang wala nang, you didn't talk about anything. That's also weird na parang,
Wala
"Hi,
kang
I'm back.
natutunan.
Okay, ano pagkain tonight?" 'Di ba ang weird? Tama na. Hindi mo na-discuss, gusto mo mag-cool off, pagbalik, okay, okay na ako. So, it's nice again for open communication
Right?
as always.
So, for you na someone who probably won't ask for a break unless it's the absolute last resort, what would be your alternative?
Ah, ako really, the reason first on why you need that time for yourself. Kasi naman yung cool off is really just having that time for yourself eh. Yun lang naman yun eh. Separating yourself in that relationship, 'di ba?
Mhm,
Sa akin, communication talaga. Baka at the end, you just need to sit down and talk about it. And just being honest with all your feelings.
mhm,
'Di ba? Na parang hindi, if you say, kasi I don't think, I'm feeling this way again, 'di ba? It's me. You don't say, you can say
mhm,
you're like this, you're like that. Don't, I mean, as much as possible, you want to say, at that point, when we went out and you said this, I felt this way.
mhm,
Parang, again, you just have to tell them how you feel. And hopefully, if you're really in a good, long relationship
mhm,
with trust and respect, it's easier to have that flow eh. I
mhm,
think it really will come when you're at that age na talaga you know how. Because when you're younger, talagang love, explosion, passion, away galore. You won't even have time to think about yourself. You sometimes you just think about the relationship, 'di ba? Tapos
Yeah.
pag nagalit na, wala na, ayoko na. I'm tired, ganyan. But it's not really thinking of long-term relationships, 'di ba? Hindi siya in the moment. But alternative for me talaga is super talk. And if it's really what I remember, what you said a while ago, if it's like problem like abusive na, or drinking problem or drugs or family, that's totally different. You really
Mhm,
sometimes have to resolve that.
mhm,
It's just actually being the person really taking back and just seeing the other person fixing it,
mhm,
'di ba?
mhm,
So, alternative for me, why don't you just take a me time? Take a vacation. I
mhm.
don't think, and then maybe at the end, yung mamimiss mo lang yung kasama mo, 'di ba? Your partner. But
You can think about it. That can actually be a break. Pero hey, I need some time to think. I'm actually gonna go to this trip. Or you know what? Uwi muna ako ng Manila.
yes, be with
I
my
just want to go
friend.
to the beach, be with my friends and whatever. And, we're
Yes.
going through a rough time. I promise I'm not,
Yes.
whatever, blah,
This
blah,
is
blah.
not
Reassure your partner also. And then, like,
always.
and maybe you'll think about things and learn some things and you can come back like a little bit refreshed and with new ideas on how to uh, get out of the rut that you're in. And I guess also it comes with age and it comes with being in a long-term relationship. Medyo kasi sanay na tayo na there are rough times.
Yes.
And especially times when it seems like it's so hard, but really you just needed to give it a minute or a day, or you just needed to sleep on
Sleep
it.
on
Or
it.
parang you
Mm,
think that it's like a make or break argument, pero pagod lang pala kayo, you just needed to sleep. And then the next day you feel better
exactly.
and you can talk. And you have like years and years of these experiences na under your belt. And sometimes it brings you to a point, hopefully, if you built a healthy enough relationship, where if somebody actually brings up something to you like, I'm having a hard time, I think I need to go away for a little bit or whatever, you can see already the honesty and the vulnerability and the effort that they did. And you know what, you'll understand and you might give them that time, or you'll agree that it's also a good thing. And when were discussing alternatives and we talked about getting counseling, and people always have a pushback on that. And I
Very.
always say that every single day that you're in a relationship, you need to be able to answer the question, what am I willing to do to make this work? Every single day you have to wake up in the morning with that kind of commitment. And what am I? Because it will come up where you're going to be asked, or you're going to need to do something that is so hard. And you need to be able to answer that question of what am I willing to do? Because sometimes I ask people like, oh, what are you willing to do to make this message, like this relationship survive or to even give it a shot? Parang, kahit ano, gagawin ko naman eh. Okay, will you go to therapy? No. Parang, no.
Nakasabi pa
Hindi
lang.
ako gaganyan. Hindi mo kailangan ng ibang tao. Akala ko ba you're willing to do everything?
Exactly.
So then you're not. So that already like stops your someone. Oh, I've heard someone say, ang hirap naman ng tanong mo. But mahirap. Hindi naman mahirap yung what are you willing to
Hindi.
do? That means there's a lot of things that you're not willing to do if you can't answer that
True.
question, right? So I think it's still possible, and maybe I'm just talking from a place of coming from a long relationship, so it's hard. But I feel like there are a lot of people in our situation na medyo older have been through a relationship that's long enough. And you kind of know that it can survive these little things as
Yes.
long as you talk about it. I think hindi lang nagsasurvive pagka sinolo ng isang tao yung dinadala niya. And
Oh, yes.
don't bring the other person into whatever it is you're feeling, and then it just feels like it's the end or there's no other solution because you did not involve your partner. And you know what? I don't really blame a lot of people because it's so hard sometimes to
Yes.
involve your partner kasi parang feeling mo lalaki pa, ganyan, na parang hindi naman ako matutulungan or whatever. And I guess part of
Problemado.
that daily commitment, right, of asking yourself and and committing to the person every day is always knowing the alternative. If you know what you're willing to do so you don't lose a person, you know that you can lose a person. Right? So it's always in the back of your head na parang kung mawawala sa akin yung taong to, and that's the alternative, maybe I can accept whatever it is this other person wants to bring up to me. And maybe we can talk about it. And if kung hindi pa rin, hindi. But then kung hindi bring up sa'yo, tapos bigla lang nawala, right? It's like, please, how many, kung gusto mo 100 cool off pa, right?
Totoo. And then you're in a relationship, you're two people in that relationship.
Yeah.
So you really cannot hold it on your own, 'di ba? You really have to have that other person to help you if you're
People,
having
kung
some
poly
difficult.
kayo, the people.
Yes.
Since now you're exploring all these new
Thoughts.
variations,
Yes,
right?
'di ba?
Yeah, right?
Yes, but thinking about it also, actually, you might even prevent having a cool off if
Mm-hmm.
you are constantly
Mm-hmm.
communicating. 'Di ba? Kasi yung cool off nandun ka na sa brink eh.
Mm-hmm.
If you have those small things,
Things,
hindi
it's
na you
true.
talk about that, hindi aabot na, ay gusto ko ng cool off. Baka it's just, I just wanna take coffee somewhere and just read the book, 'di ba? Or I just
Do,
wanna eat. Yeah.
do you remember that
That's your me time.
episode? Since now meron na kaming 12 episodes so we can look back on all these things. So do you remember that episode about
Oh,
money? And
yes.
then we're saying that it's always an awkward conversation. But if you practice those difficult
Yes, practice.
conversations, di magiging normal na siya and it's not so hard. So if instead of avoiding every kind of
Conflict.
conflict, you kind
Yes.
of like face it head on. Like for example, nag-away kayo and then you already see that you're starting another cycle and someone is reacting this way, someone is triggered, and then you're already whatever. You can actually say, hold on. This is what I see is happening. This is what I said, and you're reacting to it in this way, and I am reacting to whatever, and we're so far off topic. Can we get back to the topic? Or can we step
Yeah.
away? Can we take a
Yes.
break? Meron pa akong actually nakikita ngayon na parang you can actually regulate and stop your dysregulation yung pag nag-aaway kayo. Like, can we take a walk in opposite directions daw?
Oh.
Or can we just sit with our backs against each other? Or can we just sit in silence but hold each other's hand? Yung mga ganon, you learn those things. But if you're not used to it, parang ang weird, ang awkward naman nun, nag-aaway tayo eh, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually start that habit early
Yes.
in your relationship and you have this kind of communication and you get used to, hold on, let's take a break here. I know I'm not reacting in the right way and I know I'm jumping on whatever. I don't mean to do that, but I'm angry. So can we blah 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 blah? Can we reconvene in 2 hours? Can we go out
Reconvene,
first?
gusto ko
And
yun.
whatever. It's like,
Gusto ko yun.
regroup or whatever. Because it's so
Yes.
easy to just, diba? Kasi alam mo na yun
Just
eh,
like
when
that.
you're like, you're so in tune to each other and you know exactly how to react and how to fight, it can become an endless like mess already so quickly, and then you're so lost, you don't even know what you're fighting about. Tapos iba na, naungkat na lahat ng problema ninyo, lahat na ng
Oh my
issue
gosh.
na hindi
That's
na
the hard
pinag-usapan.
part.
We've all been there, right? Imagine
Yes.
if you could nip it in the bud, tapos biglang nung nagalit nung una, kaya mo nang sabihin na parang, hold on 1 second, I didn't mean to sound that way. I'm sorry if it made you angry. I love you. I don't want you to be sad. I don't, di ba? Parang ako, naiiyak ako na sinasabi ko yun because, it's so hard to do. And it's so hard when you're fighting to remind each other that you're on the same team.
Yes,
To
yun. You're on
remind
the
each
same
other that,
team.
how hard it is na parang nag-aaway kayo tapos you're so, so angry. The last thing you want to do is tell the person, I love you. But what if you could?
That
Diba?
will
Would it stop things? And it's like one thing that we've learned in our marriage now. Of course, we still fight because we're always communicating and we're always saying, hold on, I don't like how you said that, blah, 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 blah. And then mag-aaway. We're learning and it's not perfect and sometimes it's not successful. We're learning to kind of like pag nagkasagutan, we're able to like actually like step away, come back and say, listen, I don't want to fight anymore. And just that statement, even if you haven't resolved anything, but you actually consciously say and tell the person, I don't want to be fighting with you like this or treating each other like this. I know that we're both still angry and we can't find, a common ground, but I just want to let you know, I don't like this. And the other person can also say, I don't like this either. Because sometimes, pag nag-aaway kayo, parang it just seems like gusto nyo lang magkasakitan eh, di ba? Kasi parang you're
yes.
just hurling things at each other. And it's so unclear at that point. You won't even entertain the fact na mahal ba ako ng taong to because everything that you're seeing is they hate you. Di ba?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need. And that's probably what you're fighting about because you think the other person doesn't love you, but really the reason you're even bothering to fight is
Because we love each other.
because you love each other.
Exactly.
You know,
'Di ba?
diba?
And yun nga, eventually you can step back, okay, what triggered you and you felt that way? Did
Uh-huh.
I say something?
Uh-huh.
What did I say that made you feel that way?
Mhm.
Or react that way?
Mhm.
Usually I say that, ano ba nangyari today? I
Yeah.
sometimes, yun sa akin, ba't biglang, ang init ng ulo, what happened? Did something happen at work? You
Mhm.
can always step back and just deduce and just think, ano ba
Yeah.
nangyari?
It's just a lot of work and it's a lot
It
of patience.
does.
And
Yes.
also knowing
Comes
that
with rules of relationship.
everything changes. The thing that set her off today might not be the same thing that sets her off tomorrow. And next year
True.
is completely different thing. So it's constant
Oh,
work. So
yes.
that's why the daily commitment is important.
Pero 'di ba ang saya din nun, getting
Yeah,
to
but
know
because
a person.
the
Yes.
rewards of it are so, to get to that point where you're so, so close to a person and
Oh,
you're
wow. You
really
can't have
in
that
a
with anyone.
supportive, loving relationship, then you'll know actually that even if that person meets someone today na sobrang hot, sobrang bait, whatever
Ay,
qualities, you
natawa ka
know
lang.
that it can never hold a candle to what you've built together. And
Check.
that's what all the work is for,
True.
to build something good. Because there are so many good people and attractive people in the world.
Oo
but
naman.
none of them will have your history. And if it's a good history, then you'll want to keep it. And you know that you can't just build it. And you know the effort that it takes to start again, di ba? So parang iisipin mo yon parate, right? So
Yes.
that's why I guess the bottom line is just communicate and be open to anything.
True. That's it, 'di ba? And you kasi you wanted to that be with that person, then you committed to that person.
Right?
Then it involves a lot of communication. So that's it. For me, if you can try not to reach at that point for a cool off, you can actually.
Yeah, you
Takes
can.
time. Little things.
Uh-huh.
It won't build up.
Do you have any final words for our audience aside from goodbye? Bunot.
No, no goodbyes. It's just see you next season. Thank you so much. Again, the comments, the one message from friends who are actually listening. Um, Before that, yun nga, I like what you said about the young ones. Thank
Mhm,
you also for listening.
mhm.
You may not think of this right now, but if you can start good communications with your partner, it's you won't have that point of thinking of cool off sana, right? Take care of
Sana.
your yes, take of your relationship. Think of be open with all concepts. Anyway, that's what I wanna say. Again, thank you. Sorry pa jump. Na-excite ako dun sa topic eh. Okay din yung topic natin ngayon eh. So, thank you. So,
Anything that you're looking forward to during our
oh,
break?
if you're since wala kami, you can check my Instagram if you'd like to. Tinatag naman ako ni Shakira and Salt and Pepe Pod when we share, so you can check me there. But I'm looking forward to is actually I'm excited. We know na for our next, oh, 'di ba? We're ready to see you in season 2. We already have our first topic. So actually I've been thinking of things about that topic already, which is actually interesting to start off our
Uh-huh.
season 2.
In
And
September, right?
yes,
So
so
not a long break. I mean, we could have given
yes.
you 1 year,
No,
but yeah, we're only
I don't
taking
think.
two
Yeah,
two
we will
months.
have
Summer
that
break lang.
summer break lang, so momentum. So ako still going to coach while we're having that break and looking forward to season 2 and thinking of future topics. So again, for everyone who has been there, parang tagal na, no? Who are there, give us your suggestions, your comments on what topics you would like for us to talk about. We would love to hear from you and we'll prepare for season 2. That's what I want to say. And yes, I'm going to look forward to a nice summer, hopefully. And I will make cuento. I'll tell you all about my summer experience, what this
I
single
want to
boy will do.
take the
Like,
time to thank you for our wonderful first season. And this has been quite an experience for me. And it's definitely made me learn so many things and also keep the creative
yes,
faucet on and also keep tabs on you, which was my first objective. But
sweet.
thanks also to all our listeners. 12 episodes. I know it wasn't such a long time, but it's still a significant period of time. It is still almost 24 hours of conversation. That's
Yes.
probably more than we've had cumulatively over the 25 years that we've known each other.
Yes, so
So
nice.
it's something good, and I'm glad that you're all here to share it with us. So we're
Yes,
gonna miss
thanks,
you all.
Kia. Yes, gonna miss you, but we'll see you September. Thank you, Kia, for having me here and doing this project. It's something to look forward to.
Yeah. In the meantime, just keep on following our social media pages and listening to episodes you might have missed. We'll try to post as much as we can, and maybe it's a good time to recap our previous episodes and post some clips, some valuable clips that we
Yes.
want to emphasize. Yeah, but
You
till
can check
next
our
time.
YouTube. Yes, our YouTube
Yeah,
channel.
our YouTube channel also exists. Maybe we'll work on some videos over there too.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much to our audience. See you soon. Thank you very much, Kia. This has been another episode of Salt and Pepe Podcast.
See you in season 2.
See you season 2. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks for letting us spice up your day.
Keep on listening to Salt and Pepe Podcast.
Konting alat.
Konting anghang.
And Pepe all around.
This has been Lia
and Shakira.
See you next time.